Hello, and welcome to our Capstone check-in for week 6. Um, in this video, I will talk about what each of our teammates have done within the last week to kind of set our tracks for this upcoming couple of weeks, so that we've already hit alpha, but we want to take it a step further and make it actually fully. We want to implement all of our ideas by the end of the semester, and we are on a good track for that. So in this week, a lot of our time was spent making this level. If you remember from the last week, we had that kind of foresty area, which looked nice, but it just felt a little too open and a little bit too hard to kind of manage a nice looking scene. Because if you look off into the distance, it's just a green plain, and it was kind of hard to get away from that. So in this level here, we have a more confined dungeon castle kind of kind of area. If I scroll in, you can see there's a roof. So we're kind of getting rid of that whole um, not like this. Not all the scene is there. You're seeing everything you can see, and what we want you to see, pretty much. So yes, this spent a lot of our time, but now we finally have a nice looking level that we can fully implement all the things that we want to implement. So if I go and play, we can kind of see more of what the level has to offer. So when we start our game, we're going to start with zero currency, as you can see in the bottom left here. We want to start with zero currency, so you can't build anything yet. But the only way to get money is to kill enemies, and you need towers to kill enemies, and you need currency to build towers. So what we thought was a good idea is we'd add these little chests that can be scattered anywhere across the map, and when you open them, they will drop the three currencies that we've implemented so far. And as you pick them up, we can get money. So this is a way to kind of start the game, uh, or have a starting income in a way, so that you'll be able to build things right away. Of course, to show off our currencies, you can get the rare ones that you're supposed to get later in the game. So as you can see, we have 400 money. In a real game scenario, you wouldn't get this much off of the first round, but for testing sakes, this is what you get. And these chests will uh, respawn at the beginning of every round, just to give you kind of a boost for each round, um, so you can get the towers you need. Now, moving on to towers, we have three new tower implementations. We have a supporting tower here, which is this yellow one. It's going to be part of our supporting class that we plan to implement in the future. And as you can see here, it is attacking our other tower, the sniper tower, this green one, and it is increasing its damage, its range, and its attack speed. And you can notice this because of the green particles coming off of it. It means it's being buffed by something else. So the sniper tower, what it does is it has a long range attack and does a lot of damage. And this will be part of one of the more damaging classes. Uh, and then we also have this launcher tower here, this blue one, which, as you can see, shoots a missile, and it's supposed to be a high damage kind of AOE class, so it can hit multiple enemies at once. And as you can see, once it's seeing the zombie, and once it hits it, it blows up and has a nice little particle effect. And once we kind of mess around with more particles in the future weeks, we'll make things looking a little bit nicer. These chests will have particle effects when you open them. They'll have a nice little I don't know, particle effect, I guess, to make it a little bit more cool and immersive. Moving on to the enemies, we have two more enemies implemented. If you remember from last week, we had this one zombie that could spawn with various health and damage. But now we have three, let's say lesser enemies, or minions, which will be like the starting enemies. When you're in like the first couple waves, they'll be fairly easy to manage, not too much health, not too much damage. But there can be lots of them. In the future, or right now, we're working on making a ranged enemy, and in the future we'll eventually get to bosses, where maybe halfway through the level or at the very end of the level, there'll be a big boss that you have to fight, and it'll be fairly hard. It'll have lots of health and lots of damage and unique attack patterns. But for now, we've got three. Their attacks are fairly similar, and unfortunately, we're a little slow or a little late getting this model looking nice and having it the way we want it to. So it doesn't quite have the like nav mesh and all that things implemented that made our game alpha last week. So we kind of backtracked a little bit this week, but it should be pretty fast getting our nav mesh and our spawners back in for the next week. Yeah, there shouldn't be any problem there. We should be back in alpha again, if not farther than we were before for next week. And then we have our chests here. These are the 5 chests we made. As you can see over here, I used the second chest as our demonstration chest. But with all these different kinds of chests that we have, we're thinking of making a rarity system for the chests, so that the rarer chests you find, you can get better currency or better equipment once we get our a like items and inventory system implemented in the future. Um, Apart from that, as you can, we can look around the map a little bit. You can see there's little areas that make it a little bit more castle-like, I guess. It makes it a little bit more cooler. There's places you can travel to, not really required. It just makes it look nice though. So over here on both sides, this will be where the enemies spawn. I might push things back a little bit, make it a little deeper. Maybe possibly add in another kind of turn just to make the map a little bit longer. But for now, I think the sizing is actually pretty nice. But yeah, I might make it a little bit deeper just so they have to travel a little bit farther away from the gate before they come in before they come into a full view of this middle area. But yeah, they'll spawn here. Then there'll be 2 lanes, one on the left and one on the right, where they come in. So you have to kind of face 2 waves of zombies. Like if you wanted to put a barrier here, you probably also have to put some stuff over here to fend off this horde and this horde, just to make it things a little bit more complicated and a little bit more fun. We will probably implement a UI system over here too, just to tell you what's going to be spawning next wave. Um, and yes, oh, that's looking groovy. If you see, if I move my camera outside of the map, because the camera is fixed to a certain distance, we can actually look outside of the map. So what I'm planning on for next week is to make it so that the camera raycasts to the player, and if there's anything in the way, it'll kind of just jump to where we want the camera to be. So you can no longer go outside of the map. It'll be kind of fixed to the walls of the map. So it'll zoom in a little bit. Let's say if I'm here, the camera will actually zoom in so it sees this, essentially. Yeah, so that's it for this week. Next week we'll be back in alpha. Like I said, we'll have the nav mesh and the spawners working together. The game will be playable and winnable, I guess, and losable. Hopefully we will have our next set of enemies by next week, if not the week after. We should have one at least showable, like in like model form for next week. And then fixing the camera. In the future weeks, we'll have an inventory system. Maybe you can pick up items, and then we'll start working on different classes that you can make. So like right now, there's only this ninja guy, which is not actually going to be our character model, but there's this ninja guy. But eventually, we'll have like you can choose from, I don't know, a mage class, which will shoot these fireballs that can do range damage, and we'll have more of these damaging towers. Then we'll have a melee class that'll be more out of a, it's got high damage. The character itself has high damage and can attack in close range, but it will have a more of a defensive kind of tower system with like blockers and maybe a little bit of damage towers, but more it's more defense. and then we'll have a support class that can build these kind of supporting towers that that buff everyone else's towers essentially. So yes, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I can't wait to see you next week when we show you everything we've worked on then. Take care.